And good morning, Rim Country. Chris Higgins in the studio. Hope you're having a great Wednesday morning. It is time for our Community Spotlight program. And in the studio this morning, I have a couple gentlemen that are part of the Territorial Troupers, David and Kid Yuma. There we go. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, and we're going to be talking about Western reenactment here in town. I think both of you have been doing this for a little while here in Payson and probably other places as well. Yeah, so going to be talking to the guys here, and there'll be someone coming in the studio in a little bit as well. So if you're listening on the radio, know that you can also watch on our KRIM FM or KRIM Radio live stream on Facebook. So, the Territorial Troupers. You've been doing this now for a little while here in Payson, haven't you, David?
It's been a while, yeah. Actually, Kid and I started this about, what, 8 years ago?
About 8 years ago, January.
Yeah. It was really the fluke. He came into the library where I work, and pretty much I look like this all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, wow, you're dressed in period clothing. Do you do like shooting or reenactment? And I was like, yeah, I did in Tucson. And I go, is there a group up here? He goes, no. And I go, you want to start one?
Mm-hmm.
And we did. We started out, first we called ourselves the Oxbow Outfit. And then that group split into two. It's a convoluted story. And a group called Desert Guns split off and started performing down in Jake's Corner area. And then I left the group to start a more theater-based kind of thing called the Troop.
Mm-hmm.
And then they split again after that and became the Ponderosa Pioneers, who I believe are still working, doing it here in town. And the what was it, Rim Country Reenactors?
Then we were Rim Country Reenactors.
Yeah. And then for a very short time, we were Payson Posse, and then we found out there was another group called that. So we just went back and called some people I knew in Tombstone, and they're using we used to be the Territorial Troupers when I was with that group down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, talking to my friends down there, and they're like, well, we're not using it anymore, so if you want to continue that. So we're like, okay, well, Territorial Troupers, that's good. And it's, we're a little less, it's a little bit more, a little bit broader than just, the Payson Pioneers or something like that. So, and we actually play all over the place. We've been Goldfield, we had invited to Vulture City this year. There's a place up in Prescott we're playing. We're just really playing everywhere we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Payson really doesn't have a venue to play at. So.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things we run into. We get to, we performed at the Gila County Fair, and we were at the Fiddlers Contest last year. We opened for them one day, and
Gila County Fair.
Yeah, Gila County Fair, yeah. And so we'll be there again this year for the town of Payson. Kaylin over there at the Parks and Rec seems to like us. So, but yeah, we're also like expanding what we're doing as well. So this Saturday at 1 o'clock, we are going to go down to the park and in full regalia and play croquet. Because actually historically that was a really popular game during this period. And so we thought we'd just go down there and have some fun. And so we're actually kind of expanding into where we're doing not just reenactments of the plays and the skits and stuff, but actually like historical presentations and demonstrations and things. So we're kind of starting to think outside that reenactment box. So,
And that's something I know, talking to you guys, as far as the period, having accurate clothing, the pistols, hats, just everything. You try and have really period accurate attire, don't you, Kid?
We do our very best to the best of our abilities as of they have today, but yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that's something that I think you've been, how long have you been kind of dressing in period clothing or, real interested in Western culture?
About 28 years
Mm-hmm.
wearing, but not all full-time, but
Gotcha.
a lot.
Gotcha, 28 years.
28 years, at least that.
What kind of made you think, hey, this is kind of how I want to dress, what I want to do?
Well, I came from the golden state of California,
Gotcha.
and I've always loved Arizona. I always thought this was the cowboy state.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I want to ride a horse in Arizona visiting my relatives. I've been coming here since 1961 to Phoenix.
Wow, okay.
At 6 years old, I rode my first horses in California. I just started loving the Old West.
Mm-hmm.
One day, about 1990s, I turned around and I was at a grocery store parking lot going through it. There was my favorite stagecoach there, Wells Fargo Concord coach. And a guy was standing out there for picture takings. They just opened up a bank. I go, could you use a partner? He goes, sure. So I ended up, ran home, put some clothes on. That was
That's
before
a
I
good
got
thing.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
but it's not as fancy as I am now,
Uh-huh.
because I was just starting out in this hobby.
Uh-huh.
And I ran into a guy that he's mountain man in a group called Code of the West out in Riverside
Mm-hmm.
at a country saloon. And next thing you know, I started wanting to wear this all the time. So I love the history, I love the Old West, and I like Arizona Territory history
All right.
and the meet and David.
There you go. And sir, is it Eric?
Ari.
Ari. Hey, welcome in this morning.
Thank you. Yeah.
And now, how long have you been involved with the Territorial Troop?
I'm a relative newbie. I've been involved in this now for a little over a year.
Okay.
And I tell you, it's probably one of the best times I've had in my life.
Mm.
You know, it's not only the group, the actors and the support staff,
Uh-huh.
because they're phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, great to work with. But it's also the audience from the people here in Payson that come and see us. You know, the reactions have always been very, very positive. You know, so there's a lot of great people here who I think appreciate the tradition of the Old West.
Mm-hmm. So what made you decide to join the group?
Well, the thing is that I've always had it in the back of my mind at some level.
Gotcha.
Since I was a child, you know, I'd go to Old Tombstone and, you know, Tucson and then Apache Junction, you know, and see these shows, and I just loved them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but life gets in the way, so I finally retired. And I saw a front page article on the Payson Roundup that they were soliciting for new members. I said, I'm too old, you know, they won't want me. But then I decided, you know what, the wife says, just go and see. So I did, and the rest is history, as they say.
There you go. So I remember when we were talking a little while ago, and you were looking for new members. And so, do you have a few new members to the group, David?
Yeah, we actually, we're still always recruiting, we're always looking for people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, not necessarily actors, just people who want to be part of it. It's, with the acting is something, if they want to do, they can. If they just want to come out and, you know, dress in the attire, that's fine too. We have a lot of the ladies really like, you know, it's almost kind of a competition sometimes, they like to see how much they can dress up. And, you know, like, you know, the bustle skirts and the trailing skirts and all that. And some of these outfits are really just magnificent. And, but, you know, one of the things people really forget is that the Old West doesn't really happen in like a vacuum. You know, it's that whole era, which the whole era fascinates me everywhere. And, you know, in France, the culture was just booming. You had the Impressionists, you know, painting, you know, creating amazing stuff. England took over pretty much all the world during that period, and was the biggest world power. And so there was, you know, in China, they were dividing China right and left between all the major European powers. Japan was starting to come into its own and really modernize it. They adapted Western culture very quickly. And so we have all these different, you know, all this different history that was happening. And, you know, if you look at the pictures of Wyatt Earp and stuff and those long frock coats, those came from England. They're called a Prince Albert frock coat because that was his favorite thing to wear. And so, you know, this wasn't all just happening in a bubble. There was all these external influences, especially once the trains started coming into Arizona. They were bringing this stuff in, and you know, if you go back east and go into some of those bars and saloons there, you see these wonderful mahogany bars. You know, they have the same thing down in Tombstone. They actually carted that thing from, I think it was Chicago or New York, all the way around the Cape, brought it over to California and put it on a mule train and drove it into Tombstone.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, so there was this, it was, the influence was coming into the West very quickly. And so and so we see it we kind of like, you know, so like I said, it didn't really happen in a vacuum. And that's kind of what we're celebrating, is that whole era, that Victorian and Edwardian thing. So, but with definitely a Western flair to it.
Yes, and what is the date range? What are we talking, like 18?
About 1865, the end of the Civil War.
Okay.
Arizona becomes a territory in 1863. 1865, people started coming here and settling. What really drives it is when the trains arrive. There's the settling of Arizona is really starts in the 1880s when the Southern Pacific comes through the lower part of the state, and the Atlantic Pacific comes through the northern part of the state. And that really drives the population here before that. And of course, the surrender of the Apache. You know, this was a very dangerous place to live until like 1887 when Geronimo finally surrendered. You know, Apache attacks were they're the last native group to surrender to the U.S. Army. And up until that time, I mean, you didn't want to run into the Apache. They were, you know, we kind of glorify it a little bit now, but you know, they were raiders. They didn't take prisoners. They weren't like the Navajo and the Hopi. They were more like the Yaqui or the Comanche. They were raiders, and so this was kind of a dangerous place back then. As a historian, I just said, you know, anybody who got here before that happened, kind of always you have those, you know, various kind of alert of, you know, you operate in green most of the time. Well, these people were operating in yellow most of the time, you know, just a bump away from red, because they never knew what was going to happen. You know, Apache attacks, illness. I mean, it was a wild place. I mean, it's really, and so yeah. So it's and that's why everybody carried guns and stuff like that, because you know, that was just the way it was. But we really try to, you know, and we actually really love to have some Native people join us. That'd be really cool, but you know.
Yeah. So do you have any reenactments coming up or scheduled, or events? I know you mentioned the croquet.
Yeah, the croquet is the one thing right now, and that's this Saturday at 1 o'clock at Green Valley Park. We'll be next to the museum.
Okay.
It'll be a chance for people to come out and see us, meet us, and you know, have some fun, watch us do really silly things in period outfits.
So how often does the group meet?
We have a monthly meeting, and then if we're rehearsing, then we'll end up like doing it about once a week if we're rehearsing for a show. Right now, we don't have any shows scheduled. We're still waiting to hear from a couple of, you know, the town and stuff like that. We're also going outside the town now, you know, talking to like Cole's Ranch and the Double D down there and places like that. So, you know, so we can perform a little, you know, expand. There's a place up in Prescott too that just opens, a Heritage Center. And we'll probably be doing some presentations up there in the near future. So.
And yeah, you mentioned the Double D in Tano Village.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, they have a nice like patio area.
Yeah, a
pretty big area.
Stage up there and stuff like that. So, and we can do, we're pretty versatile. I mean, we can do, you know, we do outdoor shows. We can do smaller indoor shows. We worked with the Elks. We did some shows at the Elks Club. You know, and also we do presentations. Sometimes, you know, people don't want a gunfight, they want to hear about the Old West, and so we'll come out and, you know, a period costume and talk about what it was like. Or one of our ladies, Jessie, she'll come out and she brings a mannequin with her, and it's dressed in a complete Victorian outfit. And she slowly undresses the mannequin all the way down to like what is like the corset and the underwear. And you realize how much these ladies really wore, but it's a really great presentation. Kid does one like that with like what cowboys wore, and so he doesn't take off his clothes, thankfully.
Yeah, I was
I'm
waiting
thinking about that, but
oh, come on.
no.
Yeah, No, you want people to attend this, kid. Come
Right,
so you know.
right.
Again, if you're just tuning in or just started watching on the KRIM Radio Facebook page, we're talking with members of the Territorial Troupers, Kid, David, and Ari. How many members are in the group now, David?
What is it, about 12?
Yeah, 12.
I think at least
12 or 14. We just had
12.
another gentleman join, gentleman named Martin. He actually has a theater background. He's from New York, and he did some off-Broadway stuff, so we're really looking forward to working with him. We're getting him, getting him the clothing and the attire, and having, and we have a couple of people that have really heavy theater backgrounds, which is kind of nice. And one of the things, I've been doing this for many, many years, and watching other groups do it too. And unfortunately, there's been this tendency lately of these groups to, you get a bunch of guys come out, everybody in the cast you have in the group come out, they yell at each other for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then they all pull their guns and shoot each other. And honestly, it's kind of like, okay, once you see it, it's, we want to do something a little bit more. So we actually write scripts. We base a lot of our script on historical incidents that happened here in Arizona. We have one, the Bucket of Blood in Holbrook, and how it got its name. Basically a gunfight over a card game, and one of the girls is actually thinking about doing a presentation on Pearl Harbor, the stagecoach robber. So we have all these other presentations, historical presentations we do, and our skits are also based a lot on that. We have one that we're hoping to do soon is based on the Canyon Diablo shootout. These two guys went into a saloon, ordered drinks in Winslow, ordered some drinks, barely touched the drinks, turned around, pulled their guns, and robbed the roulette table. And they just scooped the money in and ran. They hopped a train and got to Canyon Diablo. Well, they were easy to track, and a couple of lawmen came after them the next day to catch them in Canyon Diablo. The guys all pulled their guns and started shooting each other. One of the robbers gets wounded really badly, and the other one gets killed. John Shaw, I think his name was, and so really it should end right there. But so the next night or next afternoon, a bunch of cowboys come into the saloon in Winslow. They hear the story, and they're like, "Well, that's not really cool. They didn't get to finish their drinks." So they literally got a bottle of whiskey, got on a train, went to Canyon Diablo. They dug the guy up, propped him up, and poured whiskey down his throat.
Amazing picture out there.
And they took a camera with them and took photographs of it.
Oh
and
my goodness.
Yeah, it's just, and you're like, these guys were insane, you know what I mean? But it's,
Wow,
but it's, one of those darkly humorous stories that comes out of Arizona. That's what people did back then.
Yeah.
They did bury him back after they were done,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Wow.
The whiskey back then was really strong.
Wow, yeah, brought him back.
They didn't quite finish the bottle, so they threw it in the coffin with him before they sealed it back up and buried him again. So,
Wow.
That's the Wild West.
Wild West, and think, the amount of time it took for them to do that.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
you don't have anything else going on? I mean, you can just go do that? Huh, interesting. Yeah, wow, I would imagine just all of the stories, all of the events, things that took place. You have no shortage of material.
yeah, it's, Payson was kind of an oddity because they were like the Switzerland of Arizona. Nothing really happened here. There was one gunfight happened in like the early 1900s. It's the only gunfight that ever happened in Payson. Guy was being a jerk on Main Street. The city councilman came out and told him to stop, and he went back into the saloon, had a few more drinks, came out and started racing his horse up and down. Rode through a children's croquet game at one point, and councilman came back out and said, "You need to stop." And the guy turned his 6-shooter on the councilman shot him out of the saddle with a German Luger. It's like, yeah, it's like, you're like, no, there's supposed to be a 6 gun. There's really other than that, but all around here, Young was Pleasant Valley back then. You have the Pleasant Valley War, which, blows up in 1887. It starts to be out with little disagreements before that, really blows up in 1887, and they end up killing like 50 men back and forth between the two groups.
Wow.
Wiped out the Graham family completely, and almost wiped out the Tewksbury's family.
Yeah.
But you know, we can pick from all sorts of. You know, you have Pearl Hart, the woman stagecoach robber. I mean, yeah, there's no end to the stories.
Wow. And you had mentioned if someone's listening or watching and interested in joining the Territorial Troupers, you don't have to have that theatrical background.
No.
You know, if you have an interest in dressing in the period clothing, you are a historical buff, like a Western historical buff. You know a lot about that era that you want to share. And, you know, if you do have kind of a little acting background, hey, it doesn't hurt. And the clothing. So if somebody, did you have any of the clothing at all before you joined, or just started purchasing?
Yeah, I did not have any of the attire of the time, and no acting experience as well.
There you go.
So these guys just were really great, getting me all equipped and telling me where I needed to go and what to look for. Very supportive, and gradually I just got a good set of clothes to wear for the performances, and just kind of took it from there.
Nice. And now, kid, you probably have a closet full of these clothes, because it's been many years now.
Let
20
me
years.
see. Yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah, just a few.
Collecting, and they're mostly your highwayman, outlaw,
Okay.
but I can dress as a townie
Mm-hmm.
or a townsperson if
Okay.
need be.
All right. What's the difference?
He dresses as a gambler. If people
Uh-huh.
you see him, he dresses up your proper fancy, the
Okay.
gambler.
Okay.
But then a townie would be like your dress, just
Lawyers, doctors,
lawyers, doctors.
Gotcha.
mercantile. Yeah.
They wear like derbies,
Okay.
frock coats too,
Oh, okay.
dress slacks, that kind
Yeah.
of thing for that period of time, ties.
Mm-hmm. So they weren't out as much. They weren't on the horses, on the range, so they didn't
Much.
have the like traditional cowboy hat with the big brim to protect you from the sun, but smaller like yours, David, and yeah.
Yeah, it's and really, and when people join, they don't have to, we kind of encourage that they want to adopt a persona, but usually we have to be flexible. Although usually my typical attire is that of a gambler, a sporting man or a gambler. I've played outlaws, I've played lawmen. I've done kind of, you have to, especially for the skits, you have to be kind of flexible. You have a persona that you might have when we're just out and about, but for the skits, that will change up. And so, it's which is really weird, because I never thought I'd be playing lawman. It's just very strange to me.
Yeah.
Look the guy.
So if somebody, again, wants to join, how do they get in touch with the group? Is there a Facebook page, a number to call?
Yeah, we
How
have.
do they do that?
We are on Facebook.
Okay.
And it's the Territorial Troupers on Facebook.
Okay.
We also have an email, territorialtroopers@gmail. We're working on a webpage. We actually would love to find a millennial to join the group who could set one up for us. So that's, or just come out to one of our events and come talk to us, like the croquet game. A lot of that is, we're going to be out there playing, more than happy to talk to people. And so, and then we'll set up, and we can help, like Gary said, when he first joined, we're really good. We have a lot of costumes and stuff like that we can help people start dressing the part. And then as they go along, they'll pick up this stuff anyway. And it's like, I think, and like I said, I've been doing this for so long. I think I have almost 40 vests to choose from every morning.
Maybe 39, but who's counting?
Yeah, and I think over time, people that participate and are part of the group, or any group, we just probably collect more clothing,
Yeah.
just more hats, whatever it is. And I imagine what would be pricey, how about the pistols that are used, or those?
That's actually, yeah, those end up costing some money. It depends what you get. Yeah, and we help people out by telling them what is a good period. Most people go with the standard Colt knockoff. And but personally, like I use a Smith & Wesson, which is a break top revolver. And yeah, that put me back a couple $100. But so yeah, that's actually one of the things. But we also have, like I said, we have gun belts and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it can get a little pricey as you go along. But it's once people start doing it, they don't seem to really care. It's like they're just like, yeah, I gotta get that. And you start also figuring out places that you can get this stuff. I mean, a lot of it, you go into thrift stores and we can alter. We have a couple of women in the group who are really great seamstresses, so they can alter things, and and we can usually get somebody outfitted. We have Martin, the new guy. We had him outfitted in a day, and so
Nice.
And then he'll slowly pick up his own costume pieces and stuff like that.
So again, if you want to meet the guys, meet the troopers, they'll be out, and that's in Green Valley Park by the Rim Country Museum, the Ranger Station, right there, Zane Grey Cabin, just in that area. And they'll be out there. What time was that, David?
We're doing it at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right, playing some croquet and other shenanigans going on. Also, the Rim Country Museum, just a great place to visit if you haven't yet, to learn about the history of the Rim Country and the area going way back. So with the Native Americans that were here to when it was settled, the rodeo starting here, a lot of that history. So yeah, if you want to learn more, and then you can also talk to the troopers as well to see if maybe joining the group is something you'd be interested in. There you go.
Yeah, I think like I said, we're always looking for members, and we joke about we'll never be too big. And like I said, it's not something if they just want to come out and dress in the period clothing, and or if they want to create a persona, if they want to act. Really, like I said, we're kind of expanding what we're doing. So it's we're not just about the reenactments. We're now more about just historical preservation.
Nice. Yeah, living history.
Yeah,
it's great. Fun stuff. Well, thank you so much. 10:30, half hour goes by real quick.
yeah.
Doesn't mean having fun.
It does, yeah. Well,
I appreciate it.
yeah, and again,
Thank you so much.
yeah, you're very welcome. And you can follow the Territorial Troupers on Facebook. Just search their Facebook page, follow them, and you can see where they'll be performing, what they have going on. Also, the monthly meetings, are those on a set day?
The first Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock at the library.
All right, first
Yeah,
Tuesday.
we are. I should mention we are a 501c3. We're a nonprofit organization.
We're insured.
And we are fully insured. So if somebody wants to, hire us for a bar mitzvah, we'll even do that.
Hey, there you go.
I'll do it all.
Very flexible.
That's interesting. I just the image of that. Western bar mitzvah. Hey, that would be interesting. All right. Well, thank you again, guys, for coming on this morning. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and also thank you to Desert Financial Credit Union for sponsoring our KRIM Community Spotlight program. Time to get back to the music here on KRIM.